Quick video for you this week because my kids are on spring break. And I want to talk to you about something that I have to remind myself of all the time. I talk to my clients about this all the time. It's called overwhelm stacking. So do you ever find yourself feeling like dread and feeling misery, even though whatever you're doing in that moment is really not that bad? Like all you're doing is making your bed or brushing your teeth in the morning, but you feel dread and overwhelm and misery. Again, I call that overwhelm stacking. And before I tell you about this fancy idea and what to do about it so that you're not so stressed and overwhelmed, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are a Christian woman who wants to reduce your overwhelm. And speaking of overwhelm, I'm going to put a link below this video to a guide that I have called End To-Do List Overwhelm, which I have a feeling is going to be really helpful with what I'm going to talk about. So overwhelm stacking. You wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off, and before you've even done anything, you are still in your cozy bed. This wave of like overwhelm and dread washes over you. Or you're on your way to work in the morning and you're just feeling dread and you're feeling totally overwhelmed by all the stuff you have to do. Or your husband's going to be out of town for a few days and you are going to be on your own with the kids and you're just feeling totally overwhelmed at all the things that you are going to have to do, all the things that are ahead of you. So overwhelm stacking is when we stack up all the things we have to do in a given amount of time, whether that's a day, a work day, a weekend, a week, and we hold all of that in our minds and bodies at once, as if we are doing them all right now at once, or as if we have to do them all at once, or we will, or we can do them all at once, even though we can only do one thing at a time. So I got out my kids' Duplos here because we're just totally in Duplo life at this point in life. It's like you take all the things that you are going to do over the course of the day. And instead of thinking about it like, okay, well, I'm going to do one thing. And then after that, I will do the next thing. And then after that, I will do the next thing. Like, okay, first I'm going to make my bed. And then I'm going to brush my teeth. And then I'm going to pee and wash my face. And then I'm going to get dressed. And then I'm going to wake up my kids. And then I'm going to get them dressed. And right, like we could keep going and going. We could make a huge shower even just from your morning routine, right? And all the things that happen before you can start homeschool for the day or get the kids out the door to school or start your work day or whatever it may be. So technically when we do these things, we're doing them all one at a time. But in our head in the morning or, as we're considering that, we are like putting it all together and holding in our head at one time. Oh, I made a faulty tower. Holding in our head at one time, like all of the things that we have to do. And of course, if you could and did do all those things at once, it would be completely overwhelming. But we only do one thing at a time. And I have to remind myself of this all the time. I will think about all the different things that I want to get done in my workday, all the different clients that I'm coaching, all the content I'm creating. And individually, none of those things is actually that bad. They're actually enjoyable things for the most part. But when I put them all together, they don't feel enjoyable. And I did this yesterday with two different things. Like we had just started working with a new practitioner to help with my son's autoimmune stuff. He has type 1 diabetes and kind of working on getting at some of the underlying things there and preventing future autoimmune. Anyway, and so we left that hour-long consult and I had a document of all these things to do, all these steps, and I literally had a headache. And my husband was like, I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of this. He's like, we can do all these things. We just do them one at a time. Like first, I start buying distilled water in jugs and we add the minerals in. And then at some point we can research getting a distiller and we buy these additional supplements that he recommended. We add them into the supplements he's already doing. And it's like, oh yeah, duh. I can't do everything on this list in this Google Doc all at once. I can only do it one at a time. And one thing at a time is not that bad and totally doable. I don't need to feel overwhelmed and dread about that. I was doing the same thing with thinking about our outdoor space at our house because this will be our first summer here. And there's so many pieces and so many decisions. And if I hold all those decisions that I have to make, all the things that I need to purchase, all the things that we need to do, in my head at once, it feels horrible, but I can make one decision at a time. So if you ever find yourself doing this overwhelm stacking, here are some tips for you. I want you to think about each piece individually. If you all of a sudden notice that you are feeling dread or overwhelm in your body and in your mind, notice where that's coming from, first of all. And if it's because you're doing this overwhelm stacking, I want you to think through all the pieces individually. Okay, your husband's gonna be gone for the weekend, so you have to get the kids dressed and get them to church all by yourself. Think through those pieces. Is any one of those pieces by itself that terrible? Usually it's not. It's not always a picnic, but usually one thing at a time is really not that horrible. If there is something when you think through that you're like, no, I am totally dreading that thing. Okay, well, what is the worst case? How likely is it that the worst case is going to happen? And, are you going to be okay? Can you get through that thing? Is it really even going to last that long? There was a conversation that I needed to have today that I was not looking forward to. And it's so funny because I was like extending the pain of that thing by thinking about it all throughout the morning, and feeling nervous about it. And instead, I had to kind of think, okay, what is the worst case scenario and how likely is that that's going to happen? And is this going to be okay? Yeah. Okay, I can do this. It's not a big deal. When I get to that point, I will handle it. I'll deal with it. It'll be okay. I'll move on to the next thing. Right now, I'm working on, this part in my stack, right? Another thing, it sounds so simple, but it can be so helpful, is just to talk it through with someone. Just talking about your overwhelming life that you're stacking together with your spouse or with someone you work with or with a life coach. Anyone can help you to realize, okay, I can break this down. I can do this in pieces. This is going to be okay. And then next tip is I want to encourage you to focus on the thing that you're doing right now and no more than the next one thing. To focus on what you are doing right now, which I know is like nearly impossible for a lot of us, myself included. One of the best tips I can give you is to use your 5 senses. So as you are making the bed in the morning, or getting your child dressed or cleaning up the kitchen or, working on a project at work, anything like that, try to be in that moment using your 5 senses. What are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you touching? What are you hearing, etc.? And bring your awareness to the thing you're doing right now. It's very hard to feel overwhelmed about all the things you have to do when you're focused on and present on what you're doing right now. And there's almost always something good and something beautiful from the Lord to be grateful for when you're paying attention to what's going on with your 5 senses right now. Even if it's like, okay, I'm in this windowless cubicle, but I'm noticing that like my body temperature, like the temperature in here is ideal, or, whatever it may be. Or that person who has a really intense perfume isn't at work today, or they moved to a different spot. And so I'm not smelling anything. Thank you, Lord. So that can help you be present in the moment that you're in. And then I give you permission, if you do want, to think about just the next one step, the next one thing beyond that. So don't think about everything in your stack that you need to do. But if you're working on this one, you can think about what the next one will be. And I want you to trust that once you get this thing done, that God is going to give you clarity about what the next one thing is going to be. And he's going to give you strength for that. And then when it's time for the next thing after that, he's going to give you clarity on that too. And he's going to give you the strength and the ability to get through it. And then the next one thing after that. And that is sometimes how you have to get through your day. When you're exhausted or you're overwhelmed or you're sick, I will literally just focus on what is the next one thing I need to do. And sometimes it's literally like, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. The next thing I need to do is I need to go change my clothes. I need to either put on real clothes because I'm feeling tired and like a slab, or I need to go put on comfy clothes because I'm feeling grumpy, wearing these jeans that are tight, whatever. Or I need to put my hair up because it's driving me nuts. Or I need to wash these dishes in the kitchen that are driving me crazy. Okay, I did that one thing. okay, Lord, what's next? What's the next one thing I need to do? I need to pay a little bit of attention to my children. Whatever. Just stacking it one thing at a time, and literally give yourself permission to just figure out, what is the next one thing? What is the next one thing I have to do? I'm not saying this is a strategy that you use all the time and you're never allowed to plan more than one task ahead. But this can be a very helpful strategy when you're feeling overwhelmed or when you're getting too far ahead of yourself, to just kind of be like, okay, I'm focused on this thing, and maybe starting to think about the next thing. And then when I get to that thing, I'm focused on that thing, and maybe just the one thing after that. So I hope that gives you some great takeaways. There are a lot of little nuggets here in this short video. Comment and tell me one of your takeaways from the video. And again, check out that end to-do list overwhelm resource below. Subscribe, join our growing family of like-minded women here on YouTube. And if you need a life coach to help you with this stuff, I've been working with women for 7 years now, I think it is. And it's a blast, and it's amazing how God shows up. I will put a link below if you want to get on my wait list for coaching. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.